Hey there, I'm John.
And I'm Josh.
And we're going to be talking to you about the NCAA 2019 season, particularly Week 2 and the results of Week 2.
All right.
We're going to divide it into a few different sections: upsets, surprises that we saw from the week, close calls from the week, and then some of the rest of the interesting games, how they played out. So let's jump into it. Now, first of all, the upsets and surprises that we saw. Maryland hosted Syracuse, coming in there at number 21. And everybody thought Syracuse was going to be able to win this one, but not so.
Yeah, so everyone was excited. They're like Syracuse, because Syracuse plays Clemson in Week 3. So everyone's like, oh, this could be a great game. Syracuse beat Maryland.
Sort of setting up.
Go play Clemson. Oh, my goodness.
No, they don't even need to go and play Clemson.
I'm pretty sure first half Maryland scored more than like 4 or 5 touchdowns in just the first half. They were absolutely destroying Syracuse.
So
entire
63-20. It was a destruction.
Just demolishing them.
All right, let's bring another one. There were a number of overtime games.
There were.
In this past weekend. And so one was number 25, Nebraska. Played Colorado, and I think we all expected this one to be a fairly good game.
Yeah, Colorado isn't a bad team.
Yeah,
but they placed really, really high expectations on Scott Frost. Yeah, Scott Frost and Nebraska this season. Ranking him at the beginning of the season was already kind of questionable after their performance last year. I just don't think they could live up to the expectations everyone had. 34-31, it was a close game, but Colorado, they were able to pull it out.
But the interesting thing, even though Colorado pulled this out in overtime, Scott Frost has already declared Nebraska the national champions.
Anyways, all right, so the next game that we can look at, this is probably the biggest upset of the week, and that was California at Washington. 2 years in a row, California has now upset Chris Peterson in Washington and ruined one of the Pac-12's team's chances of getting to the college football playoffs.
Yeah. Or, we'll even see as far as Washington's concerned, do they even make it to the Pac-12 championship at this point?
Yeah.
Tough, but and they did have a 3-hour delay because of weather. So that game didn't finish until 3 a.m. on the East Coast. Ridiculous.
Yeah. And they lost because of a final second field goal.
Yes.
You know, that's a tough loss too, especially 2 years in a row. So we'll see if Washington is a great team or not based off of how they bounce back.
Now let's look at a few of the close calls from last week. And one was your Boise State Broncos.
I'm hoping, so Boise State hosted Marshall on the blue field, and the final score was 14-7. And it was absolutely offensively kind of painful to watch, for sure. Yeah. So Boise could drive. They got the yardage. If you looked at stats, they absolutely dominated Marshall in every way.
But not in the first half.
First half,
Boise,
not so much. Definitely
did.
Second.
Marshall did not let them drive at all. But, yeah.
Yeah, but all in all, what it came down to was offensively, they couldn't finish. They could drive down and then just stall on their side of the field, Boise, that is.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter because defensively, this team played absolutely lights out in the second half. Allowed zero,
like they did against Florida
0
State.
Yards of defense for the Marshall offense, which is a relatively good offense.
Yeah.
They just did a great job. And having a defense like that really, really helps a freshman quarterback like Bachmeier.
I was really impressed with Marshall's defense. They were
this is the first time
defense.
that Marshall has allowed a 100-yard rusher in, I think, 15 games or something. They had like a top 5 rush defense last year. So they really did. Like, they would 4 or 5 tacklers every single time one of the Boise State players got the ball.
They swarmed, for sure.
Good game by Marshall.
Yeah, Bachmeier, he had a good game. 240-plus yards and a touchdown.
And like I said, it has to be comforting for Bachmeier to know, like, he has a defense that can help him out. Because the offensive line's not helping out right now.
Okay. This is not how you want it to go. After Boise beats Florida State, and then Florida State faces UL Monroe. And that one goes into overtime.
This was just wow. And I don't understand how you struggle. It's one thing to lose to Boise, but UL Monroe?
Yeah.
You're going to struggle with UL Monroe?
And it could have been just that they were down after getting beat by Boise. And
who knows?
I don't know. Coaching.
Taggart's probably gone at the end of this year. You know they want him out.
Like you said, he may be gone before the end of this year
honestly.
at this rate. But
it was a missed extra point. You got to feel bad for that kicker. Their team did so great.
It's the worst when you miss a PAT. But yeah, that's how it goes. The next one was Army, Michigan. Okay, you never thought we'd be talking about close calls when we're talking about Army and Michigan.
All right, the first thing I want to say is this. Last year, Army almost beat Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma went to the playoffs. So, this year, Army almost beat Michigan.
Got the scenario going here in my mind.
Is Michigan going to make it to the playoffs? I think if you play Army and it's a close game, you're almost guaranteed a spot in the playoffs.
Okay. I'll give you that only if Michigan does some incredible things from this point out.
It was really, really tough to watch Michigan play that triple option. And then offensively, like, Army somehow stopped them.
I mean, was it in the first half that Army didn't even throw a single pass?
Yeah, they did not one pass in the first half. They threw a couple in the second.
Including an interception in the second. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And one they shouldn't have even thrown. They should have just kept it on the ground because it was working for them. But, yeah, 2 overtimes. Crazy. What was that, 24-21?
24-21.
And then the next one was BYU Tennessee. Again, one that should not have been close. It was a close call and a painful close call for Tennessee because they lost in overtime.
I did think that BYU could win this game, and
I did too.
They did pull it out, yeah. So after this game, we'd already talked about Tennessee and their future hopes. You got to think now they honestly probably aren't going to win more than, I would say, 2 or 3 games. It was 4, but now I'm looking at 2 or 3. Yeah. Because if you can't beat the first 2 opponents on your year who aren't even in the SEC, you know you're going to struggle. Yeah. You know.
Oh, for them to, I mean, even beat an SEC team is going to be an amazing thing.
Any SEC. They're the bottom dwellers right now. Because you see the other teams who lost week 1, like Missouri, and they bounced back and absolutely destroyed West Virginia. So you got to think, like, that's what Tennessee needed to do, and they didn't.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about week 2, just some more of the games that were of interest. One would be Cincinnati at Ohio State. Only at interest because we thought the Bearcats might be able to put something together here. No.
This was, I don't want to say like a statement game by Ohio State. It was probably more of a trap game, and they just showed the country like they're not worried.
42-0.
They're not worried. They know what they can do, and honestly, they're probably going to roll the rest of the way. Who knows if Michigan or someone like that can stop them, but chances are they do have a tough end of the year schedule. They play like Wisconsin, Michigan, Michigan State, Maryland, all these other, I don't know about Maryland, but all these other tougher opponents right at the end. We'll see how they do.
And Justin Fields had a great game. I mean, he had almost 225 yards, a couple touchdowns. So he's doing good in this offensive scheme.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Then we have Texas A&M. They were at number 1 Clemson.
Thank goodness this was not game day.
Woo! Yeah, they chose well to have the LSU-Texas game be game day and not this one. Because, I mean, the bottom line is Texas A&M, they just, no matter what they did last year, they did not have it for this year.
It came down to their quarterback play, most likely. It was just a struggle to watch done. He absolutely did nothing. Yeah. You could tell I guess he was trying, but he just looked off. He looked scared.
He did.
And I don't blame him going against Clemson, but
he couldn't put anything together. I just say, and granted, Clemson's defense, they're good. They've got a good defense again.
Lawrence didn't do bad. He wasn't like stunning like some of these other quarterbacks
but over 250 yards. I mean, he did great putting it in the air and just was composed like he normally is.
You have to think at the rate he's going, he probably won't win the Heisman, not because of necessarily talent, but more Heisman kind of has to have those flashy things and flair. Yeah. And so far, Trevor Lawrence just seems to be playing safe and like completely competent, yes, but not necessarily that like dazzle, that starriness that most Heisman winners have, like Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield.
And now let's mention previous national champions, UCF. And they played Florida Atlantic. And the good news about this game, UCF just put it away, 48-14.
Absolutely.
The good news is hopefully this means that Lane Kiffin will never get a job as a head coach of any kind of power conference in the future.
You have to think, Lane. People have to be getting pretty frustrated with Lane Kiffin. He went to FAU. They thought maybe he could actually build something. Demolished by Ohio State. Even worse defeat by UCF.
Yes.
I mean, at least they can only really go up from here. I do think that they'll start winning some games now that they have lesser opponents throughout the rest of the season. But it was a good matchup for UCF, I guess. They weren't looking forward to the Stanford game. They played well for this one instead of looking ahead.
Yeah.
Good for them.
So, as far as the game day game, we had number 6 LSU playing at number 10 Texas.
This was a good game.
Oh, it was fun to watch. It was a good game. It was a fight through to the end. It could have been in our close calls, except for for some reason, it didn't feel like a close call. It's only a one-touchdown game. 45. LSU won that 45-38.
It felt like LSU had control
the entire time.
Yeah, there were moments where it was like, oh, Texas could do this.
Texas had a really good second half because they had sort of blown the first half and they were behind by a good bit. But they did have a good second half and they were trying to move back, but it was just too much. LSU.
Burrows did amazing. He got like 470 yards, 4 touchdowns. Great game for him.
He didn't play bad for Texas.
He didn't.
He did a good job.
I will say this game really, really makes the idea of Alabama versus LSU and Oklahoma versus Texas very exciting because both of these teams can clearly show up when it matters.
Yeah.
So we'll see later on down the season if they can keep up the momentum, especially LSU. You got to wonder if maybe they're looking for a new champion in the SEC.
So the big question at this point is, did Josh finally have a breakthrough in the upset calls?
Yeah, so I was 0-3 week 1. Now it's week 2, and we'll just go ahead and start with the Debbie Downer of the game.
Okay.
So I said Nevada. I did say I didn't think it would happen. I was just putting them on upset because it could. Clearly it couldn't. So Nevada went to number 16 Oregon and lost 77-6. I think Oregon must have watched this video and been like, this kid. The audacity to group us even in the same universe as Nevada.
Well, I would definitely say Oregon did a great job recovering from last week's loss.
Yeah, they did better than Auburn because Auburn, who won, played Tulane and really struggled.
It did.
But 77-6. That is just embarrassing. They should have stopped trying to score at some point, but no, they just kept going.
They were trying to put a statement game.
Absolutely
right
humiliating for.
All right, so
Nevada.
let's talk about the one you guessed right.
Woo!
Number 25
1 out
Stanford
of 4.
Was playing USC, and Josh, you picked USC.
I did. I picked USC. I was not impressed with Stanford week 1, and USC skirted by a really good Fresno State team who just lost again this week, barely. So you just know they're a tough opponent.
Yeah.
And so I just had high hopes that USC, probably better coaching, probably more talent than Stanford. And I think you could really tell that in this game. Stanford honestly never even stood a chance. It was a blowout from the beginning.
Well, it wasn't a blowout from the beginning.
Of the second half.
Because first half it was 24-20.
Yeah, there you go.
So USC was leading 24-20. Seemed like a pretty close game. And that was the end of Stanford scoring.
After that. Yeah. And being at USC, it had to help too. That's a loud crowd. I was impressed. Good for USC. Maybe they're a contender in the Pac-12 as well.
Maybe so.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will see. So that was Week 2's review, and join us for the Week 3 preview.